I'm going to do quantity discount. I'm going to use the same data that I just showed you in the earlier video, but there's a variation to this, and that brings up this other economic order quantity formula. In this case, we are going to calculate economic order quantity 3 times because holding costs will vary depending on the price. So in the earlier we did quantity discount and the holding cost was $35 no matter what price you paid. But as I have indicated before, on the formula sheet there is a formula down here where you'll see that it's some sort of rate times the price. And so this becomes more complex in regards to quantity discount because think about it, there are 3 different prices. And so theoretically we have to calculate the economic or quantity based on the holding cost based on this price and then another economic order quantity to see if they fall within these ranges. And then we can see which ones we can rule out and then which ones we would follow. So instead of the $35 being constant no matter what the price, we're going to calculate new ones. So the way you do this is the easiest way is just to simply take then the holding cost is equal to the price times the percentage, and in this case it's 10%. And so I'm going to once again absolute this one so that I can then copy it down. In Excel, that's putting a dollar sign in between the column and the row, and so as I copy it down it will not modify. And so you'll see that yeah, if we pay $350 the holding cost is $35. If we pay $325 per item, then our holding cost goes down, and then so on. So we now vary that. So let's do economic order quantity on this one. So we'll have to do this 3 times to determine that. So I'm going to simply once again do it in using 3 cells. This is 2 times then the annual demand times the setup, and we are going to then take that. Oops. Let's go back and do that again. So the top part of the equation is 2 times annual demand times setup, and then we divide that by our holding cost, in this case that amount, and then we are going to take the square root of that. Now this will give us the same answer that we had gotten earlier, simply because the holding cost is the $35, which matched up to the earlier one. But let's see how it varies now that we have these new holding costs. So here, this is top part of the equation is still the same: 2 times the annual demand times the setup cost or the ordering cost. So that's going to be the same, but here we're going to see a little bit difference. This divided by this, and then the square root of that. So based on this variation, oops, oh, I didn't spell it right. There's what I need to do. SQRT, and then do that. And so we're up to 188, and then this last one here, we'll do this one. So 2 times the demand times the setup or ordering cost, and then we will divide that by its holding cost, and then take the square root of that. Now we got some different results here. Once again, even with this holding cost, we would still never use this category because it's selling at the minimum we should order is 182, and that doesn't fall in this range. And so that just would rule this out. So we're looking at this one. Now, based on that one, we wouldn't order 182. Actually, with the reduction in holding costs, we would do 188 in this one. And then based on this one, 195. But of course, they're not going to give us that price and therefore that holding cost because that's not over 200. So we would calculate out, then we're going to wind up with basically a different total inventory cost for this one, and we'll wind up with basically the same one for the second one. But let's see if this makes a difference. So we'll calculate out the inventory cost for the first one. So it is going to be then we are going to do, well, let's do it just like we did it. So we would order 189. That falls within this range, and so we would get the price at so we'd figure out then how many times we're going to order now. So if that's the demand divided by how much we order times the setup, we get that, and then we would figure out our holding costs, which is this amount divided by 2, the average inventory, times our holding cost, in this case the $32.50. And once again, they're equal to each other, and this would be the minimum. This is the best if we're not worried about price and the trade-off in price, but we need to add that final thing in. So this times the price of $3.25. And so if we add all those numbers together, this cost of ordering, cost of holding the inventory, and what we pay for it, we get $1,566,118.82. Now let's go back and do this one again. So this is going to be 200 because that's the minimum amount we order to get that. You don't want to order any more than that. You just have to order 200 to get 300 in this this holding cost. And so we would calculate then this is the demand divided by the number of units we're going to order times the ordering cost. So we're ordering less, but we're going to be holding more. But the trade-off is the holding went down a little bit. Now this is still going to violate economic principle. Together these will still be more expensive than these two together. But once again, we'll look at the trade-off then between these things. So we're going to have the average inventory here, which should be half of that, times this reduction in holding cost. And so then we add, we take into account the demand times the this idea here, the price of $300, and then we add those together. So the cost of ordering, the cost of holding the inventory, and the price we pay for the product, and we still wind up with a better deal. So even with that reduction in holding cost and such, it's still much better off. Part of the fact is that our holding cost even went down. So it kind of throws things around. You have to calculate economic order quantity now 3 times because the holding costs varied in all 3 cases. So you can't just calculate it once. If the holding costs remain the same, you'd be able to calculate it one time and then determine where to go from there. Once again, we ruled out the smaller category. We'd never order that because the minimum amount we order would be 182. So we're never going to do that. This 189 falls within this range, and so we calculated out that. And then we said, well, 195 doesn't fit into this category. Now sometimes you will get it where this will fit into the category, and so then order that quantity because that will be minimizing both these things, and they'll be far cheaper than violating that one. But once again, we know that based on these numbers, these are higher. Um, uh, they're not equal to each other because we're not following that. But the trade-off is we get this at a lower price, and together then it's worth violating economic order quantity.